Jane's in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Hi, Jane. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
Well, I've been listening to you for a little while now, and you seem to favor a Roth IRA over a traditional IRA quite frequently. I know the differences. I'm wondering why you tend to favor the Roth, and I could tell you why my financial advisor originally put all my money into a traditional, if you want to hear that.
Well, it's possible that your financial advisor fell in the same hole that other financial advisors fell in and couldn't get out. And that hole was, in order for the traditional to work out ahead of the Roth mathematically, you have to be in a lower tax bracket dramatically at retirement than you are now. A dramatically lower tax bracket, which, by the way, means you haven't got any money. Because if you've got $5 million, your required minimum distributions at 70 and a half are going to put you in the same tax bracket you're in now. So you're not going to be in a lower tax bracket. And so the Roth absolutely mathematically kicks the traditional's butt. And here's why. If you take $200 a month from age 25 to age 65, 40 years, and you invest that in a decent growth stock mutual fund, you're going to have $2.5 million in there. However, only $96,000 of the $2.5 million is actual principal that you put in. So if you did a traditional in that, you would have gotten a tax break on $96,000. You would have not paid taxes yet on $96,000, but you'll pay taxes on the entire $2.5 million as you pull it out. If instead you did this with a Roth, you would pay taxes on the $96,000 and zero taxes on the rest of the $2.5 million. So there's no way that the traditional even comes close to the Roth mathematically. Does that help you?
Well, that's what must be why my financial advisor went that route. Because yes, I'm retired now, but when I was making a decent salary, I was obviously in a higher tax bracket than I am now that I'm retired, and so he's moving slowly every year a certain amount from the traditional into the Roth to still keep me in a very low tax bracket.
No, that's good. That's a smart. That is a smart move, but he assumed that you weren't going to have enough at your required minimum distribution. Because, you know, in my example, you got a tax write-off on $96,000, and then you still end up paying the taxes on it when you pull it out later. And so it just doesn't make sense at all. Now, when Roths first came out, they really took the nerd population of financial planners and blew their brains out. I mean, their minds, they just were in a hurricane. They didn't know what to do. And I was one of them. I spent numerous hours crunching numbers trying to figure out this thing. And here's the other interesting thing, George, is when you compare apples to apples, what we would all do in those days is we were trying to do the proper math calculation. So if you're going to say, all right, $100 going into a Roth requires, because you got to pay taxes, that's net of taxes. So to put 100 into a Roth, you actually have to make 130, right?
Yes.
So we would say, all right, 130 going into a traditional or 100 going into a Roth, because that's a correct set of mathematical assumptions for a math nerd. And if you're a financial planner, you usually are a super math nerd, right? Now, here's the problem with that. That's not what people do. They put
the same amount in.
They end up putting the same amount in, regardless of the tax situation. They forget that taxes have already come out. I've already got the taxes out of my Roth, but I'm still going to fully fund the $8,000, the $6,000, right?
Yeah.
I'm still max the thing out. I'm still going to put the exact same percentage of my income into the Roth 401k at my work, even though it's net of taxes. It took more money to get that in there than it did to do that in traditional. But no one ever goes, I'm going to put 80 into my Roth instead of 100 into my traditional. They don't reduce it. They just put the same amount in.
Yeah.
And so you end up with the Roth. We cheat you. We trick you into saving more.
By accident. You didn't even know it.
We trick you.
No one's called in saying, Dave, I did Roth like you told me to. I got too much money in retirement. What do I do?
I've never had anybody
good
go,
problem to
I
have.
followed your plan on getting a match first and then getting all the Roth I could get and then doing traditional. and I ended up with millions of dollars, and I hate Dave Ramsey. I have never had that complaint. Never.
Well, and on top of that, there's no required minimum distributions on the Roth IRA.
Ta-da.
So that's a big bonus as well. And when I get to retirement, I don't want to be worried about tax brackets and how much income I can withdraw. I just want to live and give like no one else and not have to worry about that.
So, Jane, where you have ended up today, you're getting good advice on the gradual move so as not to bump your tax bracket, because whatever you pull out from under the traditional, move it to the Roth, is not going to be subject to required minimum, and it's going to grow from this point forward tax-free, but you're moving it gradually so as not to bump up a tax bracket. And that's good advice. The advice that got you here, however, is bad advice. I wish you were all in Roth right now. You'd be in much better shape. You wouldn't have any of this discussion going on, and you probably have more money. So, but it's not the end of the world. You did good, and you've retired, and you got a chunk of money, and you and I got the opportunity to talk theory, and that's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So the rule is rock, paper, scissors, but except there's only one way to go. Okay, match beats Roth. 100% match before you get started. You can't beat that math, right? Beats Roth. Roth beats traditional. So do all the match you can, all the Roth you can, and only then do you do traditional.